Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to What's Up 221. Slightly different today. I'm outdoors testing out my DJI Osmo Pocket. And the main purpose of this test is to see how it works with my makeshift bike mount and how stable and smooth and lovely this footage is going to be. Now the bike mount, I'll try and show you here if I can. Anyone that watched my previous video where I mounted the GoPro Karma grip to my bike will remember that I screwed one of the little GoPro slide mounts onto the underneath of my Wahoo Element Bolt mount, which meant I could slide a GoPro cage or anything else on there. So that basically also works with this little DJI. You can't see it now because everything I'm filming is done on the DJI, but I have a Skyreet bracket which hooks around the DJI, which I'll show you there, and that's attached to a standard GoPro clippy mount thingy-me-jig, and that just slides into that. Right, so let's put a few miles on the wheels, give it a test. Bloody freezing. Right, so the other good thing about this is with the quick release slide mount for the GoPro, whilst riding I can just simply unclip the DJI and use it handheld for vlogging to the camera. Now I do understand that the light is all behind me, so you probably can't see me very well at the moment, and I can't adjust any of the settings while I'm riding, so that's a bit of an arse, because I need to plug it into my phone. But there we go, if I spin around now, there we go. But what you should be getting is beautiful, stabilised, smooth footage, even as I ride at breakneck speeds on my gorgeous bike. The other thing that this will be a very good test of is the noise reduction on the microphone. I'm not using any external microphone. I've not actually changed any settings. This is completely standard, shot at 4K, 24 frames per second, all of that completely as it came out of the box. So I'm hoping you can hear me. It's so cold. Right, next little test, face track. I've put face track on, it's got a little green box around my face. I'm going to move my head without moving the camera or the gimbal manually at all, and theoretically it should follow my head. Looks pretty good to me, maybe a little bit slow, but there is a fast follow function that I can set in there as well, I noticed, so I'll have to play around with that. Right, face track works. Don't know the footage quality or how stable it is until I get back to check that out, but just watching the gimbal as I was riding looked like it was doing pretty well. So what I'll try now is the motion lapse function, which is superb. You basically set the camera in one position, position the gimbal at a starting point, move it to the end point, and then tell it how long you want it to film over that period of time, and it will create a brilliant sweeping hyperlapse video for you. So let's put that to the test. Right, let's take a closer look at this little bugger. And more importantly, well, not more importantly, but more specifically, the way that I've clipped it to the bike. I don't know if I mentioned already, but if I didn't, DJI are making their own accessory mount that fits onto all the GoPro clips and mounts, and I think they're actually doing a quarter turn one, which will be really great because it'll work in the same way as like my bike computer here, which just quarter turn, click, and obviously if you could do the same on the underneath of the camera, that would be very handy.
But in the meantime, what I have done, for those that missed my very enlightening and educational video on a little DIY bracket, I will give you a quick look. This is just a standard GoPro clip. This is the mount I was talking about that I bought from Amazon, which I can't remember how much it was, but it wasn't a lot. And that slides in, you can mount it either higher up above the screen, like so. That way you can keep your little USB or Apple phone connector thing in there, still got access to all the buttons. Or you can have it further across there, or you can have it right at the bottom, depending on what you want to do with it. So that is what I purchased separately. What I had done previously was fit this slidey GoPro thing to the underside of this, the standard Wahoo Element bolt out front mount. And the way I did that, if I can unclip this, hang on, tool for every job. So the bottom of this actually unclips anyway, it's not permanently fixed, like so. Oh, there we go. So that is the base of the Wahoo mount. And as you can see, first things I did was put one of the adhesive pads for a GoPro slider mount onto the underneath of it. There was no way the adhesive alone was going to be strong enough, so I then put 2 screws through it and then smoothed off the screws on the other side so it doesn't interfere with the mount as it comes on. And that obviously is about as permanent as it's going to get. And then you just clip the plate back to the underneath of your Wahoo mount, like so. That's it, permanently on there. Put your Wahoo back on, tighten this up, slide your DJI on, boom. Now the only thing is this mount has got a little bit of wobble in it. So although the footage seemed pretty good, I'm not sure it's going to be any better than a GoPro at basic shooting out front on bumpy roads kind of footage. If I turn this on, where's the buttons? This is the other thing, you get used to it after a while, where the buttons are from the underneath. The reason I didn't do it the other way up, by the way, with the screen facing up, is I can't see it anyway, so there's absolutely no point. So let's hold this button down for a couple of seconds. There you go, you can see it firing up. Boom, levels off beautifully, and that's it. Now obviously, as I tip the bike and turn, that stays beautifully central and straight. But what I'm not so sure about is that kind of movement, that very fine vibration. But it's good, I like it. You might notice that I seem a little bit restricted for space in this video, and there's a very good reason for that, and that is this. And I'll go into what all that crap is in more detail in another video, but it's not relevant to this other than the fact that I'm working in a sort of metre square space, which isn't ideal. Right, I'm going to take this off, get myself in a slightly more comfortable position, and run through the specifics of the camera in a little bit more scientific detail for you. Ooh, I think I've just broken it. Also, I need to put this bike away before the wife comes home. Okay, let's remove this bracket for now. We'll not be using that for a while. Although, actually, while I'm here, one complaint about the Pocket Osmo Pocket, was that the size of it was actually too small, and when you hold it, you can quite easily cover up the microphone. There's one there, and there's one there on the underneath, and obviously it's a small device, so it's quite easy to cover up those microphones when you're holding it. What I found with this mounted is, hang on, I'm going to have to put this screw back in. I was able to hold it by literally sliding my hands behind, like so, and worked really well. And obviously you can see everything is free from obstruction. Anyway, okay, so I'll run through some basic functions for you. Okay, so you have 2 basic buttons, record button or shoot button, and a multifunctional button, which the function depends on how many times you tap it. One tap will change the mode, so you can see I've gone from photo to video mode, back to photo, back to video. Double tap will recenter the gimbal. There wasn't much movement, but it straightened it up. And a triple tap will turn this to selfie mode. You can adjust the angle of the gimbal manually with your hand. You're actually advised by DJI that that's not going to cause it any problems. Alternatively, there is a little slider on the side of the screen just here is tiny, but that will control up and down movement of the gimbal itself. Okay, once you have it set in the mode you want, other functions are accessed through swiping. Swipe up from the bottom of the screen. You have another way to recenter the gimbal, another way to flip the camera. You have a slow track or fast track mode, so when you're in follow mode, that will determine how quickly the gimbal moves in relation to the subject that it's following. And finally on this screen you have a first person view which just centers the gimbal and actually will, I don't know if you can see that, it tips with the entire unit. If you change that to follow mode, obviously the gimbal will follow to whatever you've set it on, and you can also then put tilt lock, so regardless of the angle of the DJI, the camera will stay pointing towards the horizon effectively. Swipe down from the top and you have a whole host of functions. So it tells you your battery level, tilt control on and off, that's whether you have it on the screen. You can recalibrate the gimbal from there, and your power off settings. You also have a, this is all fucking boring, isn't it? So that concludes my unboxing and first impressions review of the DJI Osmo Pocket. Obviously, if you want more technical information, more in-depth reviews based on the technicalities of color profiling, and go and look for other videos. There are millions, there's more than I can shake a stick at. Obviously, anyone that's familiar with my videos will know that I'm very much a turn it on, point it in the right direction, and hope for the best kind of user. So that's pretty much all you're ever going to get from me. I hope it was still of interest to you. Thank you very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.